Hey Trekkies, it's summer, and you know what that means. It's time for Creation Entertainment's Trek to Las Vegas 2025. This year, the convention has been expanded to a 5-day schedule, August 6th through the 10th at the Rio Las Vegas Hotel. Meet all your favorite Star Trek pros in one place, and hey, maybe you swing by Vic's Lounge and you see our panel. It's a great way to meet people in person and have some fun with your fellow Trekkies. If you can't make it to Star Trek Las Vegas, of course, there's also other events around the country this year. Trek to Orlando, August 23rd through 24th. There's the Trek to New Jersey, September 6th and 7th. And finally, the Trek to Chicago, November 22nd and 23rd. We're looking forward to meeting as many of you as we can this year. So make sure that you get ready to trek to Las Vegas.
This is Nami Melumad, and you're listening to Open Pike Night. I have some notes.
Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Welcome to Open Pike Night. I'm your host, John T. Bolds, here tonight with some amazing guests on stage and in the studio to have a conversation with the woman who writes for Star Trek in a language that needs no translating. We have practiced our scales, learned that every good boy does fine, and emptied our spit valves. The Open Pike Night hosts are just one guy in a straw hat away from a barbershop quartet, which would be the second one I've been in. And our valued guests on the Open Pike Night Stage have come to show their amazing support. Joining me tonight are my co-hosts. The man who knows that the true wonder wall is the feed of a social media page, host of Sudden But Inevitable, Jesse.
See, I learned it as every Gorn bag does fail, but I think yours works better because it's less specific, right?
And the man who will crack under pressure and sing his heart out to both Rock Band and Guitar Hero, host of Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through TNG, Cameron.
Oh, no. No, you don't want me to do that. No.
I, again, have a wonderful intro written by our guest, so I didn't have to prepare one. So here we go. That is Space Cadet by our guest, Nami Melumad. Welcome to Open Pike Night.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's fantastic to have you. And you are the composer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as well as Prodigy. And I think IMDb has you listed at 147 composing credits so far. That's
We're going to talk about every single one tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We start the round table. 7 seconds per credit starting now.
That's a great idea. All right, sure, let's do it.
But Cameron actually is going to get us started.
Yeah, let's go back before any of those credits, before credit number one, to, when you first got into music and then when you discovered that was something you wanted to pursue as a career.
Well, that was very early on, around the time I was probably like 14. And the little golem you have there was a big inspiration for that. Because I'm still a big Lord of the Rings fan. And this was one of the movies where I watched a trilogy. I think it was also the time of Harry Potter and Pirates of the Caribbean and all these lovely and Star Wars, great movies that came out around that time. And I listened to the scores a lot, and then I tried playing those melodies on the piano, and and then I realized that it's possible to do it, like that. It's not super crazy. Like, if you strive out all the amazing orchestration, and sometimes you have 100-piece orchestra playing, the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. But if you take it down into melody and harmony, then it becomes a doable thing that, I could play it, so I could probably write it as well. And so that's kind of how it started. Like I would imagine what would I write for a fourth Lord of the Ring movie if that ever happened. And I still have those sketches. Like, I would mock them up. I wrote some ideas, and then I orchestrated them and created like these little demos. So for a lot of these sci-fi fantasies, and like all sorts of like drama films as well. And that's kind of how everything started. Like I was like, oh, this is, I love music and I love films, so maybe I could do that too. And then that started a huge dream of like, okay, I'm gonna go to Hollywood and do this. So yeah, and I luckily I had a lot of people who believed that I could do it. My family, a lot of friends, like it was a very supportive environment. So it kind of enabled me to be like, oh yeah, I can definitely do it. I'm gonna do it, and yeah, I still think I can do it.
Do you think you've done it? Have you had that aha moment where you're like, I made it? Look, Mom.
Well, I have it almost every day, but also it's like a yes and no, because yeah, I mean, I enjoy all the accomplishments and all the journeys so far, but there's like still a big way to go. So it's definitely an uphill journey. And I guess at the point where I'm like, oh, I want to work on this, I don't want to work on this kind of thing, that's where I know, okay, I've done it now I can,
when you can be
go
picky,
climb the mountain. Yeah.
I mean, just looking at those 140 credits and your biography, I mean, it just looks like, since you've started, you've been working and training and getting education. So, I mean, I don't know if we can go into the whole journey, but are there like, one or two, like the key pivotal moments that you feel like in your career that were like really pushed you to the next level? Like either whatever.
I think getting my first big Hollywood film was probably one of those pivotal moments in American Pickle, Seth Rogen movie. And that was like my first big orchestra, recording at Fox, and the first time I worked with Michael Giacchino, and all of that. Like that project was super meaningful, both on a personal level, because like it was the story itself is about this Jewish immigrant who kind of a fish out of the water story, and with all these Jewish elements. And I very much identify with both of the characters there. And then also on a personal level of working with one of my heroes, really, that I grew up listening to his music. So, I mean, Michael. So, and then the whole Hollywood aspect of it, and like having a team for the first time, because up until that point, I was also doing everything that a music department does. So whether that's music preparation and orchestration and the conducting, mixing, whatever, like all the stuff that are around composing. So that was a very big change for me, change of pace, and also like, having that magnitude of a project. Like, okay, this is, this is big. It's not a student film. I mean, student films are important as well, but what I mean is like, okay, this is going to be watched by millions of people, so I better do a good job. And I think the other time where the same kind of like big moment happened was when I got Prodigy, because that felt like, okay, now I'm directly or indirectly going to influence, a lot of kids to both, be into our show, but also get into the Star Trek world. And so that feels like a huge responsibility, and it is. But with I hope it's working out.
It seems to have, yes.
Yeah, it seems to. So yeah, my nephews watched the show, and that's something I'm super proud of. Like I just came back from Israel. They live in Israel, and the show has been dubbed into Hebrew at Nickelodeon channel. And just watching them watch the show is a personal achievement for me. Like I feel that's success. That they love that show.
They weren't big American Pickle fans.
Well, they
I presume it's rated R. I don't know. It's Seth Rogen.
Everybody
I presume
loves
it's not for
a cute nephew, Nami, but Well, the real validation is about to come from me, a 30-year-old white male stranger. I love the music of Prodigy. Like, as I'm watching Prodigy, I remember to myself, this has to fit into the grander trek, and it does, and it's making its own way, and Prodigy is nothing short of a triumph, which is not the first time we've said that here, but just really quickly, on behalf of every fan ever, thank you for all of the music in Prodigy. It is wonderful.
Oh yes.
Great. I'm glad to get this validation. That is very good validation. Yes. Thank you. Now I feel like I succeeded. Now, I can
tell your nephews
now.
about
milestone
that.
number 3. That's right.
I can just quit the industry. I've made it. Yeah.
I like her. She's going to be good.
Yep.
So you mentioned Michael Giacchino, and who you've continued to work with. You worked on Thor: Love and Thunder with him, sharing a credit, and I'd love to know like how that worked out. But I mean, what is your relationship? How's that proceeded through into the Star Trek universe?
Well, I guess I impressed him a little bit doing American Pickle. And that actually he introduced me to Alex Kurtzman.
Okay.
And then that's how the whole thing happened, because he obviously did all these amazing scores for Trek, and Alex produced that. So yeah, it was the short tracks. I think it was 2018. It was just right after Pickle, and then he recommended me to do one of the shorts, which happened to be, the one short that was kind of like a pilot for Strange New Worlds, although the original pilot was already aired, like, a while
Before
ago.
any of us were born.
That's true. But that was, the pilot for that ensemble, for these actors. And in a way, when I did that, I think the editor told me, like, that score is so good. Like, if they do a show, I think they're going to hire you. And I was like, well,
Nice to hear.
Awesome.
I hope so. Yeah, we walked out of the soundstage at Warner Brothers, and I was like, I really wish he's right. And so that's thanks to Michael, really. And obviously, I did a good job on that short. Basically, yeah, so that led to Prodigy. And then after I did the pilot for Prodigy, so the first episode, I submitted the mock-up. This is a funny story, but I submitted the mock-up, and then they wanted me to go on a call, like with the showrunners and the director and with Alex Kurtzman, which is not it's not a usual thing that, like, a producer of this level goes into, like, noting the music. and I was nervous because I thought, maybe and then literally for 10 minutes, he gave me a lot of notes, which, it's okay, but I was like, oh my God, I totally fucked it up. Like, it's, oops. And then I had to get off the call, and and my showrunners continued to give me more notes. And I was like, oh my God, like, I totally blew it. Like, that's not great. And after we ended that call, I get another email from Alex's assistant, like, saying, can you come back on? Like, Alex has, wants to talk to you.
More notes.
Like,
Oh no.
it's like, shit, like, really? This is like, wow. And so I go on the call, and he's saying, so we have this other show that we're doing, Strange New World.
Oh,
and
man.
I was wondering if you want to score.
Thought you were going to get fired and you got another job.
And I'm like, wow, I did not see that coming. Like, I thought he was going to fire me. No, not fire, but like to give me more notes. But yeah, he was like, I'm very impressed, So it turned out I did a good job. And so, that's how Strange New Worlds happened.
So did you have to audition for Prodigy, or did you get it based on the short track?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was based on the short track. And then, the idea was that Michael writes the main theme, which is a phenomenal main theme. And then, I kind of take it on and do the entire score, like we did with a lot of other projects, like American Pickle and Medal of Honor. And what else did we do? We did more things. Thor.
Yeah. So how'd that work?
But on Thor, he did do like a lot of the score, like probably half the score before I came in at all, because this was a project where, it was unexpectedly postponed, like the schedule of it. And like they had to do a lot of reshoots and stuff. And so by the time that they were doing those reshoots, and a lot of the movie has changed completely from the cut that Michael worked on in December, by March, it was completely different. And so a lot of the stuff that were already recorded didn't work anymore. And Michael was directing his film, the other film,
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night that he did for Marvel. And so he really, he texted me like, if I can come and help on some cues, and I'm like, sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, I don't need to be convinced to yeah. I mean, these are like all my favorite actors, and Natalie Portman's arms are like probably my favorite in this movie. I mean, but everyone there is like, Russell Crowe. I personally, I thought he was hilarious. He was so good. So, and yeah, Chris Hemsworth, like, this is fun. It's like working, on Strange New Worlds. You just look at Anson Mount's hair and you're like, oh yeah, life goals. So I know I'm so shallow.
A universe. I think the world's obsessed with Anson Mount's hair. No, you're not alone there.
Yeah, but this is where the inspiration comes from. People ask you like, where's your inspiration coming from?
The hair. Well, let's see. Going back a little bit, you had mentioned the scores that kind of inspired you to get into composing. But like going forward, were there any other movie scores that like really you glommed onto? Jurassic Park was a big one for me. Interview with the Vampire, Requiem for a Dream, Lord of the Rings, of course. Is it the best score of all time or just one of them? I don't know, but
might be. I'm not sure. Lord of the Rings is very special to me. Like I actually flew to New Zealand after my military service. Yeah, I flew out with a couple of friends. One of them is also a huge Lord of the Rings fan. The other one is not, and so. Both of us were wearing a necklace with the ring. Mm-hmm. My other friend was so embarrassed to hang around with us. Well, yes. And then I also bought this like location guide of where they shot the movies. And so we actually went to several of the locations, like the Kepler track, and that great river where the scene at the end of the first movie,
mm-hmm.
And Tongariro Crossing, obviously, which is Mordor. Like a lot of these like really cool spots. So yeah, big nerd there. And I would listen to the score, and with my MP3 device. It was a while ago. So yeah, and other score that definitely influenced me, I would say Michael's tracks. So 2009 mainly. And then Jared Goldsmith stuff, a lot of James Horner, Alexander Desplat, The Imitation Game. I think that's what it's called. Okay. That's one of, a lot of the Hans Zimmer stuff from earlier on. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I listen to a lot of things. I'm leaning toward the orchestra world. Mm-hmm. A lot of Tom Newman stuff too. A lot of Pixar. That's Michael and Tom Newman. Yeah. So Ratatouille and Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, like a lot of these stuff. So
I remember it was Lost, just being like, wow, the music in this is great. Who did this? Who's this Michael Giacchino guy? Yeah. I've never heard of him before. And then just following him and being like, oh, he's just getting better. Like, who is this guy?
Yeah. You know what my problem is with Lost? Like whenever, I mean, I love that soundtrack, and the entire, it's amazing. But then they temp a lot of stuff with Lost, and I'm like, how can I top that? It's so good. Like, why don't we just leave it there? It's so good. It's so good.
Like, just Hollywood and Vines and everything. It's like, yeah, this music is perfect. Come on.
Yeah, you got it. Just pay the rights.
Yeah, then you have to, though. You have to find something that works better, and ultimately, what you do does work better because of the emotional connection that whatever that your character went through. So if you introduce a theme early on, that theme pays off later with your version of whatever that style would be. But yeah, it's sometimes it's a difficult task. Like a lot of times with Michael or with Tom Newman's attempts, you're like, oh, I'm in a pickle now.
An American pickle?
Yeah.
Well, that too.
I'm curious. Like, what are the other kind of big scores that get used in temps a lot?
Well, a lot of Hans Zimmer, like a lot of Interstellar. That's a big one.
Uh-huh.
The timepiece specifically, I think I've heard it like probably 5 or 6 times.
I guess I should say temps are when people finish the movie and they just put in pre-existing music in to kind of get that mood. before the actual
Yeah.
music gets scored, just if anyone doesn't know.
Exactly. It's a reference track. So,
Yeah.
you kind of talk about it when you do the spotting session. You like whether this is working or why is it not working, or what the filmmaker likes about this or what they don't like about this, and stuff like that. Yeah. So Hans Zimmer a lot of times. Tom Newman's American Beauty is another huge piece that you hear a lot. Just that style is very, very likable. So.
So I watched another podcast with you, and I noticed that you had a Mouse Rat shirt on, which made me wonder, Nami, if you could join any fictional band, which fictional band would you want to be a member of?
You know what? Mouse Rat is a good option. Though I would like to play with the Duke Silver as well.
Sure.
Yeah. If you notice, actually, it's out. The album for Prodigy, episode 17, has a title track called the Murph Silver Trio. That's a reference.
Nice.
Yeah. There's an Israeli movie called the Band's Visit, which is all about this orchestra that comes to, lands in this actually, I think they made it a Broadway show after that, now that I think about it. But anyway, I would also like to play in that band.
Okay, good.
Very cool.
I'm a Mystic Spiral guy myself, but we're thinking about changing the name.
I know I'd have to go like Mos Eisley Cantina. I'm sorry.
I know you want to play in a jizz band, Cameron. I know.
That's true. Well, I was speaking of playing instruments. I do have to ask. The theremin is a popular instrument in the Star Trek oeuvre, and I know that you've used it in your score. Have you actually gotten to play a theremin? Because that is on my bucket list.
I have not. I know our producer for Prodigy has an instrument, but I haven't played it yet. Aaron Walkie, he has one. But yeah, I haven't, it's I wish, it's on my bucket list as well.
You too? Yeah, relate.
Yeah, one day.
All right. Well, before we kind of move into Star Trek, as we've said, you have a number of credits under your belt, and we've only scratched the surface talking about some of the more recent, well-known ones. If you could kind of pick just like 3 or 4 of your previous work, maybe lesser well-known work that you're still really super proud of that you'd like people to check out, like what would you direct people to?
I would direct people to Far From the Tree, which is a Disney short that I did 2 years ago. Actually, I think it was 2020. So it just didn't come out because 2020. But it's a beautiful short. It played before in Kanto in theaters, and it's about like a raccoon family. So there's no dialogue in the film at all, but by the end of it, you cry, and it's just 7 minutes long. So if anyone has Disney Plus, I do encourage you to watch, just because it's a very relatable film about family and generational stuff. So yeah, it was very touching. Again, a film that my nephew endorsed. So, what could be better than that? And then Absentio, which is a thriller on Amazon Prime, which was one of the first gigs I got. And, it's a very different pace from Star Trek. It's very the score is very synthy and like a lot of pulses, no orchestra at all, not very melodic. Like it's a very different side of my writing, but also like super, super fun. And if you like thrillers and police stuff and FBI stuff, like mysteries, this is a really cool show. Other stuff, there's Miss Arizona that I'm really proud of. That was an indie feature back in 2018. I think it's available on Peacock.
I'm kind of curious about, was it the New Zealand Guide for Tessering? I listened to that and it was really good, and just the name kind of struck me. What is that?
That was just a concert piece, actually.
Okay.
That I was inspired by. I forgot the name of the book.
Wrinkle in Time, right? Or
yes, A Wrinkle in Time.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, the book was this was right after I read the book. It was really, really inspiring, and I don't know, the thought of how I imagined that book would look like in real life kind of reminded me of that trip to New Zealand. So that's how I imagined it would be and how it would feel to do these jumps. So then I wrote that piece, but it had nothing to do with the film, or it was more based on imagination, which I like.
Well, it's a beautiful piece. I suggest people check it out.
Yeah, it's a good piece, and it was we had a concert for it. It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of talented, Nami. Good job.
most of my stuff are just like happy mistakes, happy accidents. Yeah. Half of the things I do are like, oh, let's try this. And then, oh, it works. Great.
You're selling yourself as the Bob Ross of music is what
That's
you're
right,
saying.
Oh my God. I love Bob Ross. When I struggle with a scene, I will often go to Bob Ross's, a YouTube thing and just watch whatever random episode.
I was really hoping she wasn't going to say, I just put you guys on, and I go, well, it's not going to be that bad. So I only say that because she said she listened. Yeah,
I know. Jesse had very selective hearing there.
I did listen. Here's proof. On the first episode, somebody mentioned, I don't remember which one of you, or maybe it was a guest, that was a very similar track to 2009, and you guys thought it was synced. Somebody thought it was synced, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Was me. It was me.
It's not synced. So, yes.
I am now aware of that, and I appreciate that clarification.
And then there was also a discussion in episode 5 about the. Somebody said the score wasn't fitting.
That might have been me.
And that was an interesting comment, because I feel like when you have a comedy thing and you're doing comedy on top of comedy, it usually doesn't work, in my opinion. But yeah, whatever.
You don't want the hat on the hat.
I already got the validation from Jesse, so that's good.
I was going to say, Nami, what you probably remember from me is just going, I love everything. I have very few criticisms about anything, because
that's fine.
I'm just in like hog heaven with almost all of Star Trek. I don't want to be that guy, but almost all of Star Trek is just kind of my bag. But I think that's really cool, because it does show that you have an auditorially based memory. Is that how I would say that? Like, I mean, you're very clearly in the field that you were born to be in, right? Like, the things that you hear stick with you, is what I'm saying.
I have a very weird memory. Yes. I mean, I remember stuff from history lessons in 11th grade, so this was like a while ago.
Yep.
Well, before we get into Star Trek, we do have a question from one of our listeners
about how you get out of Star Trek.
Hi, Open Pike Night. This is Mariah, and I'm really excited to hear from Nami Melumad about music. Okay, my question is going to sound a little bit funny, but it's basically, how do you get yourself out of a Star Trek music theme mindset when you're then trying to work on something else? I mean, it's such a strong, the Star Trek music has such a strong theme that I feel like it would be really hard to then go work on something else and not have it sound like Star Trek. Is that true for you? Sort of, how do you switch your brain in and out of Star Trek music? Thanks so much.
Wow. That's, first of all, kudos on saying my name right. Well done. The other thing is, that's such an amazing question. It's kind of very tricky to do that, to get out of Star Trek mode and Star Trek land. And also between the shows, like I will often find myself going like, this is the Protostar theme, I should not do it on Strange New Worlds. I'm like, oh my God, am I just quoting myself? That's wrong. I should not do that. Like, there's no reason to do that there. And vice versa. Like I just recently I started working on Prodigy episode 201, and I'm like, oh, like this is something directly from Strange New Worlds. I will not go there, but it takes a minute. So between the shows, it's even a little confusing. But then I think it's actually a little easier when you go outside of orchestral land. Let's say I was working on the show called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window. And that's a very non-orchestral score. Like, it has some strings, but other than that, I think once you derive your music from the story and from the characters, and if they're like far enough from that world of Star Trek, then it's just going to be you reacting to that story, and it's going to be far enough. So basically, what takes me out of that Star Trek world is just not being in that Star Trek world or universe, let's say. So yeah, that's I guess, and it also helps if it's not shared instrumentation or anything remotely close to track. The other thing I'll say, I did one time lose a gig because I pitched on something, and then the comment was, "It's too much. It sounds a little bit like Star Trek. Like it's too." And I'm like, wow.
Oh, man.
I did not see that coming. And yeah, it was an orchestral piece. It was, I very fast paced. I mean, I can see why they thought maybe it was too close to Prodigy or something like that. Yeah.
So to get us back into Star Trek, we have another call from another one of our listeners.
Hey, Open Pike Night. Thanks for the delightful interviews with Bruce Horak and Dr. Aaron. I learned a lot from Dr. Aaron, so much appreciation. And I'm very excited that we're welcoming Nami Melumad. It's so awesome that you are the first female composer of Star Trek. It's a long overdue for sure, but thank you for joining the Star Trek family. I am a music lover, amateur musician, but really feel strongly that music is so important to visual media. You hear a soundtrack and it takes you to an emotional time and place, a character, a situation. So my questions are, A, are you a fan of the other shows of the Star Trek franchise? And B, I usually make what's called a Crusher connection on Open Pike, because I do love the character of Dr. Beverly Crusher, as everybody who listens knows. And I guess my question is, she is my favorite character, and I was thinking of an instrument that would typify Dr. Crusher. So I don't know if you're familiar with her character. If you are, do you think there's an instrument that would go well with her character? Or do you have a favorite Star Trek character, and what instrument do you think would really be great to kind of feature to set the theme for them? Like if you were creating a theme. I know it's a little abstract, but I hope that kind of makes sense, because I'm very much into character themes and music really showing the emotion and what's going on in the story. So thank you for all you do, and live long and prosper.
Wow. Great question too. Yeah, I am a Trek fan. I love Dr. Crusher. I watch all the shows. Like it's, for me, it's like every Thursday, no matter what, like I will watch the episode that comes out. I can't wait for Picard season 3 because exactly for that reason. Because I was hoping that Crusher would show up in the first season. Like it was kind of, but yeah. But it's okay. I'll accept what I can get.
You hear that, Michelle? Nami's a bev head too.
I like redheads. I think if I had written a theme for her character, I think it would be played on an oboe. I mean, she's got, I don't know, an oboe is kind of like cold sometimes, but it can also be super warm and super emotional too. And it could also have like all these funky stuff. I will forever, whenever someone mentions Beverly Crusher, I'm like, I straightly I go to that episode with her grandma's lover. Like
I knew you were gonna say that.
It's just a thing that happens. I don't know why. I mean, she did save the Enterprise a few times, and
but you have one ghost encounter.
I know. It's so I told you I'm shallow. So here's proof.
You're not the first guest to mention that episode on in response to a Michelle question.
I'm not going to say this is the genesis for a future Peter and the Wolf style Star Trek show with just different instruments doing all of the characters, but
hey, I think
if it happens,
I think we had Beverly on Prodigy for a moment there. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, that was a great question and a great answer. So I'm going to push it. Like, who is your favorite Star Trek character, and what instrument would you apply to them?
I think my favorite character is Janeway on all her versions. So Voyager version, hologram Janeway version, Vice Admiral Janeway version, and I am lucky because I actually got to write a theme for her. Both for the hologram and for Admiral Janeway, and so it's not played on a certain instrument. Like, I mean, obviously horns are more featured there, but it's an orchestral piece. So in both versions, which was a little tricky because I'm trying to like that nostalgic feeling of Voyager without doing Voyager. So doing that for the first time, then the second time was a little like, okay, how am I, what am I doing now? I just admire her character and her strength. And to me, that's the kind of leadership like that I would like to, I derive a lot of like inspiration from her and on a personal level. So also the actress herself, like she's just phenomenal. So Kate Mulgrew is, I don't know if you've seen her on Orange is the New Black, where she plays Red. Mm-hmm. It's a very different character from Janeway.
Yeah.
But she's just incredible. Like, if people haven't watched it, please do. She's phenomenal, and it's fun to see.
Same with The Man Who Fell to Earth. She plays a
very
different character, but it's so fun to watch her in.
And that's an amazing show too. Like I hope they have a season 2. It's a great show and a great score also from Jeff Russo, which I really enjoy that. So yeah.
So as a Star Trek fan, what would you say is we call it your home Trek? Like what is the Trek series that is for you above all else that is
that is very unfair to ask that question, because I work on 2 shows. So can I say that like my
say it.
Well, my favorite live action is currently it used to be Voyager, but now it's Strange New Worlds, because I feel like I think it has the best of all worlds, if that makes sense. Like it took all the previous shows and kind of took the best elements out of them, like the original series. So the serialized, the non-bingeable version, so episodic. So contained stories, 50 minutes of a full arc story with character arcs that develop throughout a season, or multiple seasons. And then, those legacy characters and new characters, and, that the music that is derived by like the Star Trek shows and movies. I mean, I think the influences are definitely heard. And then amazing actors that played on Discovery and, all sorts of like, just the new modern technology of like it feels very cinematic. And then you also have the strong ensemble like in TNG and DS9. So for me that's the show that does it all. But then I don't know, I guess also TNG and DS9, I don't know, like a lot of them, I like all of it. I like Trek. And then for animated, it's definitely Prodigy, although I love Lord X, but Prodigy. And then if I really have to choose across the entire franchise, I think it's Prodigy.
All right.
Here, I said it.
Excellent. Yep. Did you have a moment when it really hit you that you were part of not just a Star Trek series or 2 or 3 with short treks, but like you were now in the universe of Star Trek, and obviously music carries on a long time after whoever writes it, but like you are part of a multi-generational thing now.
It's crazy. I guess with Prodigy somewhere down the line, there I don't think there was a specific moment for that. I guess maybe when I watched it with my nephews, but it was a very pivotal moment. But also, I guess the first time I went to the Secret Hideout with, when I met with Alex Kritzman, we did a spotting session for that first Q&A episode, and then they screened it on the big screen. I'm like, oh my god, I am on the Enterprise now. Like, this is the Enterprise, and I am on the Enterprise, and it was Spock's first day and it was my first day, and it was like a lot of emotions there. But at that time I didn't know where this was going to lead, so for me it was I just enjoyed the significance of that moment for me. And now in retrospective, I'm like, this was a huge moment, like, for Star Trek in general, which is weird to think about, but yes. Kind of like, I think Ensign Mount said it in an interview that like he feels super lucky that he works, he's on the Enterprise, like doing that this is him. And so I kind of feel the same, like whenever I'm on the bridge of the Enterprise, in my studio, I was like, this is amazing. And by the way, recording studios have this like huge console, which kind of feels like a bridge. I don't know if you've been, the Warner Brothers recording studio, it just looks like a bridge if you go there. And then there's this, this window, the ceiling, the glass where you're in the booth, and then there's the orchestra on the other side. Mm-hmm. And it totally feels like a bridge. And so I wear like a Trek uniform for the session. Like, it has happened.
That's excellent. So besides your nephews, what has been your favorite fan reaction to your work on Trek?
I love all the art, the fan art that I see around both for both of my shows. That's like, it's just super creative to see what people come up with. Like it's just really great. And then seeing all the podcasts and people talk about theories, like, you guys were thinking that Lan is some kind of a, that there's going to be something between Lan and Hammer, and and then you were thinking she's a spy, like, or not a spy, but you didn't trust her at first. I'm like, oh, this is. Let's see where this is going. And then a lot of people theorized, Spock and Chapel, or I was actually rooting for Chapel and Uhura at some point. I was like, or Lan.
That was mine.
Also, there was like a little bit of romance there on episode 5. I was like, is that where it's leading? No, it's not. But so I'm really enjoying these theories. So yeah, and then I just as a Trekkie, I get a lot of like merchandise like on Etsy, so it's really fun to see what people make and then get it. So
well, I think I'll pass it off to our next listener, Peter.
Hi, it's Peter again. I hope everyone at Open Pike Night and fellow listeners had a happy holiday season. Thank you, Miss Melumad, for being a part of today's Open Pike Night episode. I have a general question about your experiences composing music for Strange New Worlds and Prodigy. Because the target audiences for both shows are different, namely, Prodigy is meant for younger audiences compared to Strange New Worlds. Does that change how you create the music for each show? In other words, is there something you do more or less of when composing music for one of the shows compared to the other due to the different audiences? Congratulations on your role as Star Trek's composer, and I look forward to hearing more of your work on upcoming seasons of Strange New Worlds and Prodigy. Live logs and proper.
that was a good one.
Peter's good with that.
That was fun. There is a difference. I think it came to a lot of the spotlight when I was working on the pilot for Prodigy, because it starts in a very dark place. Like Tars Lamora is a scary place. It's like slavery, kids slavery. Like, I mean, that's how, is that how you start a kid's show? Like, it's very, very dark. And one of the notes was to bring more hope into that score and to make it less scary. Because I think when I approached it, it was a little too dark. Remember, this is a show that is mainly directed at kids, and then for everyone else as well. But the main audience is 7 to 13-year-olds or something. So you want to be mindful that it's not too scary and that it's that it's approachable. But the other thing is that it still needed to be cinematic, and still needed to be grand. And so we never treated it as a cartoon, not with the animation, not with the story, and not with the music. So the music mainly addresses it as if it was a movie. That's what I was going for. But then, yes, keeping in mind that this is for kids. And then Strange New Worlds, obviously I don't have that limitation. So I can go more serious or more, when it's scary to go scary. And when it's dissonant to go to fully go there. So, I don't know if I would put the Gorn stuff into Prodigy. I'm not sure. I know, but with that being said, now we're in season 2, and we have gotten into Starfleet land, right? Like at the end of, sorry for the spoilers, but in episode 20, where we know that the kids are heading with Admiral Janeway. So and they have matured. Like we're not in episode 1 anymore. So I think the music is also maturing a little bit. Still, not the scariest thing.
So now we're going to dive into Strange New Worlds proper, which is generally where I ask for the most backup from our callers, and I am going to do that, but I would quickly like to start with a question of my own. You had mentioned that there was a gig that you lost because it sounded a little too much, your pitch sounded a little too much like Star Trek, and I'm not going to ask you what that was, but on the topic of a sonic identity, what is the most important instrument or combination of instruments to making music that sounds like it belongs in Star Trek?
I wouldn't say that it's a really instrument choice, because most of the Star Trek music has been orchestral, maybe with a smaller orchestra or a bigger orchestra, depending on, which show or movie it was. I can say what is less affiliated with Star Trek, and that is a lot of time piano or all sorts of keyboards. I mean, Michael has done it a little bit, but if you look at like the original films and like previous scores, it's not really there. So, for example, introducing piano at the very first scene of Strange New World was a choice that was to show the distance of Pike from Starfleet. Like, he's not sure that he wants to come back, and actually he doesn't want to come back. And so that distant feeling in Montana, choices are specific, but there are certain harmonies and certain chord progressions and certain melodic progressions that are more affiliated with Star Trek. And I'm not just talking about the famous motifs or the fanfare, but also general, when you listen to these scores, there are certain musical elements that or progressions that are more affiliated with that. And the more you listen, it comes natural. Kind of like when I was young and I would play scores on piano, I'd still do that. Like, I have Jerry Goldsmith, motion picture score on the piano right now. This is this big book. And I would sometimes, I listen to something and I'm like, how did he do that? And then I actually read it and I analyze it. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. How can I do something like this, but not this, but what can I deduct from this? And I do it. It's a lot of research.
When you got the Prodigy gig, or maybe the Short Treks gig, how much time did you spend examining the previous scores before you started writing your own stuff? And do they just kind of give you a hard drive, like a USB thumb drive with all the scores from before? Or
That's your
no,
no, you got to do your homework. I mean, no one's going to do it for you.
They do a scavenger hunt cam around everything. You have to go find it.
I already knew a lot of the scores before. This is and yeah, obviously I did listen to I did watch some original series stuff, and then I think my main influences has always been Michael, so with tracks, so I think that was very audible as well. I don't need to re-listen to those scores. I know them too well. So, but yeah, you got to do your homework. What they give you is just a picture, and then a temp track if there's any temp music. But a lot of filmmakers and Alex as well, he did say you do what you think is right, and this is just something to get us going. But it's not I'm not attached to it. This is not something. You don't have to follow this as a guide, And I think it's really good when a filmmaker does that, because they give you the liberty and the freedom to go and be creative and not tie yourself to an existing piece of music, but kind of derive the pace and the energy from the picture and from the characters and from the acting, from the writing, from the camera movement. Really, yeah, it's a lot of it is timing. Really,
Very
you work
cool.
on a show, when is the big moment where we see the when the camera opens to a wide shot, when is that, or a close up, or when does the dialogue fall? So where should my chord fall? Before that or after, or should it breathe a little more? A lot of the most of it is timing decisions, really, and how to create an effective score. So I will often spend a lot of time in, trying things here and then a frame before and 2 frames after, and and I think, yeah. No wonder my cat falls asleep next to me, because he's like, this is so boring.
Any kind of editing, it sounds like, just creates that environment for cats. So I think that actually leads really well into our next fan question. John, if you don't mind, go ahead and cue up Zoe for us.
Here we go.
Open Pike Night, this is Lieutenant Commander Zoe Richardson of the USS Cinema, also host of the Backlit Cinema podcast. Thanks for this opportunity to show my love and appreciation for the work of Miss Nami Melumad. The Strange New World theme is one of my favorite things about the show, and I enjoy the incorporation of the original theme and the rush of adventure that I get from it. My question for Miss Nami is, was there any particular pressure to include elements of the original theme, or did you just have faith of the heart to Go where your heart would take you. Pun intended. Richardson out.
Yeah, well, luckily I have some very good collaborators in this, and Henry, which you interviewed before, is really amazing in letting the creatives do what they do best. And so, yeah, we will often mention like, oh, this is a good spot to put to mention the original theme, or this is a good place for a fanfare, or this is where when Kirk shows up, I think it's episode 10. That was, for example, a spot where like, oh, let's do a little reference there. There's a general thought about it, but it's never you got to do it. Like it's not I wouldn't call it pressure. And then there's the thing about not overusing it, which is very important, because if you overuse something, it just loses its meaning. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah, our next question will follow up to that nicely.
Hey, Open Pike and Nami. I am so glad to get to tell you how much I love your music. Star Trek music is kind of the soundtrack of my life, and I love the fact that I am now sharing it with my 2 daughters who ask for it in the car all the time and remember what parts of Prodigy they've seen with your music. So my question for you is, since you are coming into this franchise and into the legacy of so many brilliant musical composers, I was wondering what it feels like to have learned from the greats and to get to borrow from them. I mean, some of those themes come back in your work all the time, and they're woven in so beautifully. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how and why and when you decide to use themes. Besides the fact that it makes us all remember things and feel nostalgic, I know that it's much more deliberate, and it means a lot when we catch those themes in different places. So I'm hoping you can expand a little bit on your creative process there. Thank you all so much for everything you do, and I look forward to more from everybody soon.
Oh, thank you. This is great to hear about your daughters listening to Prodigy in the car. That makes me really happy. About how to choose, it will often be a discussion in our spotting sessions, whether for Strange New Worlds or Prodigy. With Prodigy, it's more with the reference to Starfleet, or when they do something that is very Starfleet, like going back to save the miners, or or saving the entire fleet, with sacrificing themselves, the needs of the many. It's a choice that you want to be mindful of. As I said, there's a temptation for me to do it more, and then I hold myself back. I'm like, no, don't do this. The other thing is that with the Protostar, with Prodigy and Hologram Janeway, we had to kind of make a reminder of Voyager without doing Voyager. And for that, I went back to the Jerry Goldsmith theme, and I was like, playing it on piano and playing it again and again and again, and seeing what he did. And then kind of also mimicking that same orchestration. So, you'll notice that the woodwinds are doing these eighth notes, and kind of the chords on the upper range, or you have this little glockenspiel playing. So it's also little tricks that kind of evoke that, or the timpanis, those timpani hits at the beginning. So there's kind of orchestration tricks really to create that same feeling, but also not do that exactly. So yeah, and then what else on Strange New Worlds? I mean, we had a Spock Amok, right? That was that was kind of just because they did everything that everything there was borrowed from the original series, and that was a case where I was allowed to borrow from the original series, and I was like, I just went for it. It was amazing, and everyone. This is we had a blast at the studio. The horns were really happy. Everyone were, you can tell when musicians are happy with what they play, because they just play better and they're more excited, and you can really hear that in the takes. So that was one of those moments, because it's just such a phenomenal theme. So
I have to imagine that the horn players are happy on all of the Star Trek that you score, Nami.
True. I will agree. And the cello player we have a lot of solos coming up on both Strange New Worlds, and actually I just finished Strange New Worlds season 2, by the way. So yeah. It's all recorded, it's all in the can, ready to go. I'm really proud of it. We also have a bigger orchestra now. Yeah, we have a harp in every episode. It's really great. And there's a killer theme for Pelia that you don't know her character yet. I know I'm allowed to talk about it because it was already published, but her character is just amazing, and I can't wait for people to meet her and also meet her music because it's just I'm very proud of it.
So speaking of pieces that you are proud of, we often ask episode writers if they have a favorite line they've written, which is a question that they hate. So do you perhaps have a favorite motif that you have written, a favorite from all of your work? And is there a favorite specific to Trek?
Oh, this is from all of my work. Okay, I thought it was Trek. Yeah, from all of my work, it would be Schlepping to Schlupsk. And that's a track from American Pickle. And it's just a very, like, it's also my mom's favorite. It's it's just a really emotional piece that it's leading up to the climax of the movie, and it's something I'm very proud of. Just it's very Jewish, and it just fits that entire. It really captured my feeling at the time as well, because I was like so grateful and emotional, and it just captures that feeling that I had, but also that the character in the movie had. So it was a kind of a perfect moment for like, and then when the orchestra recorded it, like it was such yeah, probably one of the highlights of my entire life. So there's that. And then yeah, for track, it's the Janeway theme, the Admiral Janeway. It's basically the piece that's playing over the credits now. The end credits of Prodigy. Yeah, super proud of it, and you know, I continue to develop that theme in season 2. So I'm very grateful for just having the opportunity to write for this, you know, for Janeway. I mean, she's amazing. It's so cool.
So speaking of season 1, I'm just gonna try not to think about what you said about season 2, and I'm gonna fail. But season 1 definitely ran the gamut where tone is concerned, right? From thriller to hijinks and comedy and drama and high fantasy, body swaps, funerals. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this season. And while every track feels like Trek and in general, and Strange New Worlds specifically, every episode sounds unique and has its own personality, and that's kind of a big sandbox. How did you approach playing in that sandbox?
Oh yeah, it is a big sandbox, but I think it's from your show. Somebody said that like there's a lot of Trek and there's a lot of stars, but and then there's a lot of feelings too, right? And I relate with that. I feel like, you know, all these adventures, ultimately we see them through the eyes of the crew. And we experience all of, you know, Pike's journey of his fate. Like we all have that. Like we have an expiration date eventually, like all of us, right? So and it's about how you live your life, really, right? And how you deal with that. A lot of these tracks ultimately, you know, yes, we're looking at aliens, but we're looking at ourselves. So to me, it's just capturing those emotions all the time, whether it's a thriller, whether it's, you know, a monster or a submarine film or whatever it is. Like, ultimately, this is about how we interpret that situation and what we would do and what we would like, what this music will evoke. So that's how I'm guided. And then, you know, all the rest is from the picture. So, you know, we're on this alien planet. Like, what would it be like if I was Uhura and it was my first away mission, you know? So for me, you know, I'm trying to capture all the fear and all the excitement. And then, you know, there's this close up on her. This is episode 2. There's this close up on her in that spacesuit. And you're like, you can really feel, you know, the music is with her all the time. And then, you know, there's this transporter moment. And then all of a sudden it's just like this really bassy feel, and like all the music is almost gone. And it's just like, you know, a little bit of sparks, you know, at the top, but then like super bassy, super like, you know, she's on the planet, like she's on a planet, and there's this, I mean, it's the comment, and then there's this amazing alien structure, and it's just so captivating. And to me, like, I'm trying to capture all these, how do I feel if I was that character and I was stepping there? So it's really just translating what's on the picture. And then, yeah, I get to play with a lot of colors. You know, we're going to, what's the name of that star in episode 6, where Laura is from?
Majalis.
Majalis, yeah. So what would Majalis look like? I mean, it's kind of like a you know, an older, it's like, you know, the costume look older, and the vibe look, you know, medieval or something, but also they have crazy technology, and they're like way more developed than the Federation on medicine, and also, you know, they're saying they don't have disease and stuff. Like, you know, there's a whole argument there about how they got there. But you know, you like, what do you do for this kind of you know, what percussions would you use, or maybe like some ethnic instruments there. Same for Vulcan, or for the Elysian Kingdom, that crazy fantasy episode. So you do get to experiment with a lot of like different instruments. Like you know, I had some ethnic flutes on this, and you know, in general on several of the episodes, and then yeah, just experimenting with all sorts of synths and stuff. There's some theremin too. So yeah, I think Star Trek is very good. There's like a lot of colors that you can use. It's like being a painter, and you can, you know, try out new colors, and if they don't work, then you don't come back to them.
So speaking of playing with color, I do have to ask, I recently discovered it may be considered disrespectful to ask if dialogue was improvised on set, because writers spent like a lot of time picking that out. So I don't know if this is akin to that. But do you play any of the instruments on the actual score for the first season yourself, or are you only directing?
No, I don't think there's any. I think maybe there's some vocals that I recorded. Like, yeah, I mean, on Q&A, I recorded the entire choir. I just layered vocals at the very end where you know, when Pike asks Spock if Vulcans feel awe. So, and then there's this choir cue. So yeah, I sometimes do that. On season 2, I sometimes play piano. Spoiler, there's piano on season 2.
That's
does that mean Pike's on a horse again?
Piano means somebody's gonna die, you guys. That's bad.
By the way, you asked me about earlier. You asked about like pieces that I really like. So the one that in you know, at the end of episode 4 and the funeral, once, you know, Uhura and Hammer are okay. So that starts there and ends at the end of the episode. That's one of my favorite pieces. It's really like, you know, and it relates to the beginning of that episode where it's Memorial Day. So there's some piano. Yes, when you're working with the orchestra, you kind of want to focus on you know, getting the takes the way that you want them, and fixing, you know, there's like plenty of fixes. There are some improvisation, because you asked about like if people improv right on set. So sometimes I will ask the Gail, our harp player, to do something, you know, more creative, or basically I told her, do something better than what I wrote, because she knows it better. She knows the instrument better, and I know that she'll come up with something way better. There was also, this is again season 2, but there's a violin solo that was improv completely, and this was after we recorded the orchestra, and I was like, we still need something there. And then we just, the violin player stayed later, and she just improvised some stuff, and I'm like, this is great. This is what we need. So, we had several takes, and we kind of comped them together. It doesn't normally happen a lot on film scores and TV shows, but when it does, it's fun.
I'm sorry, Nami. All I'm hearing is that you're killing everybody in season 2. We've got sad violins. We've got pianos coming in. There's
it's not sad.
But
they're all eating oranges on screen.
While
it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
While we are on the topic,
I can tell you a spoiler. Basically, what happens is the Gorn, they capture the Enterprise, and then everyone is becoming Gorn, and so the entire show, 10 episodes, are just like the Gorn.
Oh, Gorn New Worlds.
That's great, because I gotta say, the end of that Gorn track is the most terrifying grandchild of the theme from Jaws and Flight of the Bumblebee by way of the Murder Hornet. How do you even approach writing music for the next big bad in Star Trek?
Oh my God, this is definitely a Williams influence. I will hand that to you. I am very influenced by Williams, my entire career. And one of the struggles of Star Trek was not to go Williams on anything. And I think on Prodigy episode 1, you can still hear some influence. And
not in a bad way.
A lot of people said it was Star Wars-y, and I'm like, yeah, that is what happens when Star Wars people come into Star Trek universe, and then they go into they Trekify. Yeah. So I allowed myself to do that. He's such a masterful storyteller, and a lot of the stuff that he did on Jaws as well. It's just so effective, and it's very, it's a less is more situation with Jaws. So yeah, there's definitely that influence, and yeah, I tried a lot of stuff for the Gorn, and ultimately a lot of what works with when you're trying to establish something super scary is keeping it as tension rather than an active beat or an active pulse or anything like that. A lot of times that it's going to catch you by surprise. It's not a steady thing. You don't expect it. And then when it happens, it's very effective. The other interesting thing that you could do is playing with tension that is sonic. So let's say a very, very high thing, very a stretch drone, let's say that's very high. And then all of a sudden he's and that creates such a contrast, and it's just by itself, the timbres are scary. So sometimes you want to do that. And then obviously there's all the, the jump scares and things like that. Or the ticking stuff. This was derived from the story itself, because they're saying that there's this ticking thing that Lon tells the story. So you kind of want to, I was like, oh, what if we did that with the music a little bit?
It's very effective. Yeah.
We had an interview with Davey Perez, one of the writers, and he actually spoke about how when he is writing a script, he tries to look at it like a piece of music. I'm going to lay down a percussion here, and then I'm going to put some rhythm over it. So to hear you say that you're essentially going in the opposite direction with the music and the script is just you guys, the Strange New Worlds is perfect. It's a perfect show made by perfect people. So thank you. While we're on that topic of Memento Mori, were there any specific influences you had that you reached into to help make that episode feel a little more nautical or Submariner like?
I watched a lot of these films early, but I didn't go directly to be oh, I'm gonna derive my influence from this. A lot of people thought it was Worth of Khan, that there was some stuff that and I think I just internalized a lot of these movies. If anything, let's say when I first watched it, I was like, oh, we're doing our own version of Alien or Aliens, and I was like, this is amazing. But I didn't go back to that score, and because because I also didn't want to be super influenced by it. Like,
Mhm.
if I just listened to it, then it would sound like it. And I don't want it to sound like it. I want it to sound like our show. So I think once you internalize those things that you watched early on, it sits in the back of your brain. It's kind of like going to the music academy. I mean, you learn counterpoint, you learn harmony, and then you forget all of it. But it should it stays in the back of your brain. If you had done all the exercises, then your counterpoint will become a thing that is just natural to you. So that's what I mean, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think that the another effect that we noticed listening through your tracks was that it often feels like the music is of two eras, like a contemporary and let's call it like a classical science fiction. Is that another part of your just kind of subconscious workshop where you go, okay, I know that this is from the 60s, but it needs to be on TV now? Or is that something you have to think about?
Okay, so again, this goes back to like more musical harmony or like theory, let's say. But there are some let's say intervals, or let's say fourth, right? Like, so E and A, right? It's a fourth. And then A and D, that's a fourth. And then D and G, that's a fourth, right? So if you use all these like timbres and you kind of explore, okay, what do I do? What if I move that a tone up or a tone down? So these are some things that I am taking directly from previous shows and previous. I'm mainly talking about the original series here, not the later stuff. So the original series and the original movies. So you derive from that, and then you kind of you see how you can modernize things and how you can take it with different orchestration or like how you start from there and you weave into something else that is more aligned with what you would call modern scoring. But I think all of it is looking through the lens of modern TV, because the music doesn't comment on every little moment. It's not mimicking anything. Like, if you watch the Gorn fight in Arena, you have the music is so active on these fights, and in a modern perspective, it kind of feels less serious that way because it feels more like a cartoon. So for me, my main rule is that music should always comment on what's happening, but not in that way. So yeah, we want the thing to happen on screen, then we comment on it, but also leave room for it to happen. A lot of it is deliberate, but also modern.
Very cool. So this is kind of a specific one from the Elysian Kingdom. So the score between the moments where Mbenga and Rukia are saying goodbye, much like the episode itself, does a masterful job of weaving optimism into what is so clearly a very sad song. Were there any bittersweet experiences in your own life that you find it helps to draw on when you need that kind of emotion in your music?
Well, I didn't lose any daughter, but I don't have a daughter yet. Well, hopefully at some point. But yeah, I mean, I lost cats. So, I mean, but
hey,
a
man,
loss
still hurts.
A loss is a loss. So,
Yeah.
a loss is a loss. And, obviously I think we all as humans have experienced some kind of loss, and we have fears and we have worries. And I didn't think of a specific reference to that scene because for me it was more about the hopeful thing. It was more about okay, she's gonna be okay. Like it's the letting go, and it's the believing that things are are going to be okay. So it was, that conclusion was beautiful, like in my opinion. Like I think it was a full circle thing, especially when she comes back. It's like fulfilling. It's he lost her, but also he knows that he did the right thing. So I wanted to support that, like, and a lot of times, again, this is a music thing, but if you do something sad on a sad thing, it just makes it less effective. Kind of like what I said about comedy on comedy. If the music is funny and it tells you, oh, you have to, this is funny, then it's less funny. Like, it's way more serious when the music addresses the character seriously, and then the character is doing something funny, or the music lands out. Sometimes it just lands out. And so the same thing is when you play a major piece, or like a piece that has a major conclusion over a sad moment, it often makes it like even more sad, in your heart, because that contrast really works. So I think music is a lot about that contrast. It just makes it a little more. I mean, I'm not saying like, yeah, play a happy song, but just have a conclusion that has a little bit of a hope there. It will make it more heartbreaking, really. So it was both of all of these things together. If any really true reference was episode 4, with the Remembrance Day, because I'm from Israel. We actually, when we have Memorial Day, it's a real Memorial
Not
Day.
just a day off work.
Not just a shopping thing. I mean, when I came to the U.S., I was like, "What Memorial Day sale? What is that?" Like, I've not, and I know, like, yeah, there's still ceremonies and stuff, but like in Israel, it is an official holiday of like remembrance. And I've lost someone in the military, and to me that moment was very personal. So I could definitely relate to that speech, the Pike speech, and with Rukia, it wasn't. I'm lucky that it wasn't a personal thing.
No kidding, yeah. I haven't lost anyone recently either, but that whole episode and the music included just ruined me. So well done.
Well, I'm glad. It was a bit of a quick conclusion to Rukia's story, in my opinion.
The music did a little bit of lifting, yeah.
I would want to see more of how that story would have developed. Like I would have enjoyed seeing a longer story arc for Mabenga about that. But it's okay because he has other stuff in season 2.
Excellent.
Well, if you're suggesting a 2-parter Elysian Kingdom, yes, I agree. So we had mentioned the this Gorn track earlier that you had sent us by the name of Gorn with the Wind. Now, not only am I happy that the creators of Star Trek enjoy a good Gorn pun as much as the rest of us, but that was not the only pun title of the tracks you sent us, which is a theme with other Star Trek composers. So how do you come up with your track titles, Nami?
Well, yeah, that's another Michael influence for sure.
We guessed.
Yeah, we share. We share the same music editor sometimes. So Paul Appelgren is a brilliant punner. Sometimes so it's between me, and sometimes he doesn't work on my shows right now, but like I will often text him and be like, okay, this is the scene, this is what's kind of going on there. And then I like, what give me some title ideas. And then Julian from Strange New Pod, if you know him, and Brittany.
Oh, yes.
Brittany is like the queen of puns there.
Oh,
so
yes.
she helped coming up with some stuff for Prodigy and for Strange New Worlds. And then there's Matt Decker, my music editor on Strange New Worlds. So it's like a whole big team effort there. But yeah, I try to sometimes like think what movies I watch or what items. I learned a lot of English from researching, like
from puns. I love it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Oh, but when Nickelodeon took out my favorite pun, and I will never forget that.
What is it?
Because on episode 1, we had on Prodigy, it was thrust me, I'm an engineer. And they were like, no, it's
can't put that in a kid's show.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Strange New Worlds.
Oh, man.
They should put it in Strange New Worlds, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
just save it.
I might actually, now that I think of it, maybe on the season 2 soundtrack. Yeah.
Open Pike Night exclusive.
We'll resurrect it just like Spock was.
There we go.
And Hammer.
Speaking of what might happen in season 2, Nami, we do love to ask everyone if you can give us a 1-word tease about season 2, a word that is not a spoiler because it will mean nothing to us now. But when we watch season 2, we can go, oh, that's what she was talking about.
Ooh, this is hard. I have to think about that for a sec.
You already told us harp, so you can't use that one.
And do take your time. Our goal is never to get anyone fired.
Right.
One of your punny track titles for season 2.
I'm going to look at my titles for a sec. Scores. Okay, Strange New Worlds. This is nice. I have all of them here. Okay, let's see. No, this is all Fuck. Sorry.
She's like,
It's all
I
right.
gotta stop naming my tracks. Pike dies.
No. Gorn takeover of the Enterprise.
Gorner Prize.
I would say Strange New Feelings.
Ooh. I like it.
All right.
I hope
Just
it's not a
tantalizing enough.
spoiler.
I do like that. Yeah.
I think that's perfect. That's
There's other
the
stuff
perfect
too.
tone. Yeah.
How to Train Your Vulcan is also a good one.
Oh, man.
All right.
Well, Nami Melumad, Open Pike Night is an Open Pike Night themed podcast, so we do ask all our guests to tell us a joke.
All right.
Do you have a joke for us tonight?
I have a joke. I hope it's not a too okay. Here we go. How many Trekkies do you need to switch a light bulb?
How
I don't
many?
know how many.
5. 1 to actually do it, and the 4 to argue how they did better in the original series.
Nice.
Only 4?
Excellent. Excellent.
I want to go to that internet.
It's so calm and quiet.
But you knew that, right? This is a yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't hide the parts of Trek that, yeah.
Okay.
Our show is like about how people disagree about how great things are. It's totally fine.
Yeah. For the record, I don't think they did it better in the original series.
Then
it
you?
was 60
No,
years ago.
they did not.
No, they did not.
And they telegraphed everything 5 seconds before it happened, as opposed to after, like you said.
We've been talking tonight with Nami Melumad, the composer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Prodigy, and with the confirmation of piano in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, we can all hope for that ragtime theme we've been waiting for Star Trek.
Thank you so much for coming, Nami.
You are welcome, and I hope I didn't ruin any Season 2 stuff. But also, Pelia is amazing. Yeah, she's just amazing.
As always, we want to keep every episode of Open Pike Night free to all. And to make that possible, please head over to patreon.com/openpike. Our supporters there have already had a video greeting from the recording, and we'll have a post discussion after they've listened to the episode. You can also check us out at openpike.com to find all of our past episodes and every link we have, including our merchandise, our Twitter, our Discord, our Instagram, everything. Jesse, how else can our listeners help?
As John mentioned, you can follow us probably still on Twitter at OpenPike, and that's where we have all of our best memes and snarkiest discourse throughout the week regarding our upcoming guests. The best way to stay up to date on our guests is to subscribe to our free newsletter at openpike.substack.com. That way you will know ahead of time who is coming to Open Pike Night. You can get your question in and they can hear it and answer it directly. Now, of course, you can also send that question at openpike.com/join us. And we say it every week, but it's always true. We can't make the show without you. So please go to openpike.com/join us and help us make Open Pike Night.
And Cam, where can people find more of you?
Hey, that's right. I'm still watching some Beverly Crusher for the first time in Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through the next generation, where I am the green shirt watching Star Trek The Next Generation for my first viewing. Although we are now in the middle of season 6, not quite to this infamous ghost episode I've been hearing about throughout this entire podcast. But if you want to listen to any of our back catalog or our current shows, at GreenShirt87 is where to find us on Twitter, and you can listen wherever you're listening to this show.
Jesse, where can folks find you?
If for whatever reason you need more of me in your ears, just stay in this podcasting app and look up Sudden But Inevitable. That's the show where I turn longtime friends into brand new fans of the shows I feel they probably should have seen by now. Shows like Firefly, Cowboy Bebop, Death Note. There's a lot of stuff in there. I actually knew somebody who hadn't seen Highlander, and I was like, are you kidding me? So I forced him to watch it, and you can hear all about that at Sudden But Inevitable.
And I can be found on Twitter at John T. Bolds. It's been a long night, and the Open Pike Night crew obviously has lots of work to do on our pun game if we're going to keep up with composers of music for Star Trek. Please be sure to tip your servers. Have a great night. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.
No, sorry, not right now. What's that called? that episode with Kirk fighting the Corn.
Oh no, yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
one is
Arena.
Arena.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
Arena. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I got confused for a sec. Oh my god, my Trekkie me now feels better.
We'll cut that out. Yeah.
No, you can leave it on. It's fine. I was right. So